Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the At the Show podcast. My name is Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm doing a solo show today. The Sugar Baggy will be back with us in the future. I'm just getting something out to do some stuff out there because we have not been live in a few weeks due to power outages at my house and then work. So I kind of threw our schedule off. But I want to get something out this weekend, the weekend of July 31st. We're going into August, and damn, is this month flying by. Actually, it's already flown by, and now summer is flying by, which kind of sucks because of work and everything. I really haven't had a chance to enjoy summer like I usually do. I haven't even got a chance to go out to the ballpark. I haven't been to a Sox game this year, which is crazy considering I was a season ticket holder last year. But I have been able to see some movies. So sit back, relax, and chill as we get into some articles that are dealing with rumors and TV shows, as well as a special tribute to the late, great Sam Neill. But before we get into all that, we're still going to roll with our old segments and start off with what I've been watching this week.
That's a me! And also, what were you just watching?
So, what have I been watching this week? Well, I've watched actually a new film and an old classic. So, in terms of the new film, I was actually able to check out the 2025 Obsession. Now, I did not see this film in theaters. I happened to hear really, really good reviews online, like everybody else has been talking about how the great performances by Inde Neverett, if I hope I said that right, and Michael Johnson, how they performed in the film, the chemistry between the two. It's also a very low budget film. I believe it was only cost, I think, $3 million to make, which is completely crazy. Actually, $750,000. I was way off to make, which the film made $460 million behind The Sixth Sense. I believe it's number 3, just behind The Sixth Sense for a tough spot in the horror genre, which is ridiculous considering it's a very low budget film, but it isn't shot that way. I've been getting into a lot of indie, I guess would say indie films in terms. I really loved Weapons, which is an A24 film, more of an indie studio. This is a Blumhouse film as well, but I heard so many good things about it. Me and my wife finally sat down to watch it. And I gotta say, it was something completely different. Supernatural elements are involved in here. Has 2 very unlikable characters, extremely unlikable characters in Bear and Ian. It only centers around really 4 people, which I thought was pretty awesome. I did love the fact that Andy Richter is in this film as Carter, who is Sarah's dad at the record store. But besides that, it's pretty much centered around Bear, who is played by Michael Johnson, Nikki, who's played by Inde Neverett, Ian, who's played by Cooper Tomlinson, and Sarah, who's played by Megan Lawless. Basically, it's centered around those 4 characters, where basically an easy synopsis is Bear makes a wish with a supernatural element that Nikki, a girl he's obsessed with, would basically become in love with him, and things kind of go downhill from there, as one can imagine. I have to say, Bear and Ian, who are the 2 male leads in this film, are not very likable, and I think there's a reason for that. But Inde Neverett is fucking phenomenal. She knocks this role out of the ballpark. For somebody who came from streaming, I believe she was doing Call of Duty streams before she even became into acting. She is just great. Her presence is great. Her annoyance as a character that basically plays that whiny person that gets under your skin, but also the fact that she's struggling with something that she can't control herself, just is just the chef's kiss. I really enjoyed the film. It was frustrating at times with certain things, actions by the main character in terms of Bear, and shout out to Michael Johnson because he made Bear really, really feel pathetic, and not in a good way. You don't feel really sorry for him. He's just very jealous and selfish. more selfish than anything. And he tries to justify what's happening, because he doesn't want to lose the fact that Nikki's still obsessed with him. Crazy ending. I don't want to give that away. But if you do have the opportunity to watch it, it is on Peacock right now. And if you have Peacock with Xfinity or whatever the hell Xfinity is and everywhere else, uh, you can get it for free. I highly recommend you watch it. Definitely worth it. A lot of creepy scenes in it, especially when Nikki walks backwards, her facial expressions. It gave me a lot of Smile vibes, um, which is good because I really, really like the Smile series. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they're going with Smile 3. So if you haven't seen Obsession, definitely check that one out. I highly, highly recommend it. And who knows, maybe during 31 Days of Horror, this one might pop up. And to go with the second film I happen to watch, hey, we're going to be talking about a film that, me and Tony have constantly mentioned, but I cannot get enough of. And it's just a film that I go back to when I feel like listening to music, especially old blues music. Huge fan of old blues music. And a film that's really, really not talked about enough. And that's the 1986 Walter Hill film, Crossroads, which is written by our guy, John Fusco, who, of course, have written Thunderheart. He also wrote the Young Gun series. Also a follower of the At the Pod Show Twitter, which I think is pretty cool. It stars Ralph Macchio as Eugene Martoni, Joe Seneca as Willie Brown, and Jamie Gertz as Francis. You have a great, great cast of character actors like Robert Judd, who plays Scratch, aka the Devil, um, which is kind of ironic because Robert Judd was actually sick with pancreatic cancer during this, and he played the role of his life. He's probably one of the best devils that doesn't get enough recognition as a devil in movie business. And it's just the way he carries himself. He's not even really scary in terms of his presence. It's more of a power presence, and he's conniving, and you can see something's behind him. He demands that respect when he comes in, but it's a person you kind of let your guard down a little bit. You have the great music by Steve Vai, who plays Jack Butler, but also does most of the music that's played by Eugene Martoni, who is basically a person obsessed with the blues. He goes to his Juilliard. He's considered a phenom, a prodigy, as they would say, in the music, with the guitar. And he is obsessed with the blues. He hears stories about Robert Johnson, thinking that Robert Johnson wrote 30 songs and only recorded 29. He's trying to find a person that was with Robert Johnson, meaning Blind Dog Fulton. And he tries to track down this person to see if he can get the 30th song and maybe record that and get his place into the music industry through blues. He meets Willie Brown, who is Blind Dog Fulton, at he's at an old folks home, for like a state penitentiary old folks home, for a case he had committed. And he breaks him out, and then they go on this adventure to the crossroads in Mississippi due to false, promises from Willie and other stuff around there. I don't want to give away too much, but it is definitely worth the watch just for the fact of the music. You also have great visuals. Like I said, when Robert Judge comes in as Scratch, just the visuals behind him, the way he appears when they go into the final, musical breakdown where they have the chopping of the heads, they say, cutting of heads, where they basically have two guitars going against each other, just Steve Vai, who recorded actually both the winning side and losing side of that argument, and the guitars. It just shows how great a musician he is. Great music throughout. Jamie Gertz is great as, a runaway girl that they meet on the road. Most of you might know her from the show, not the show, but the film Lost Boys. She plays Star. Also, she's the owner of the Atlantic Hawks, which is rather crazy because she's a billionaire. But just a film that Walter Hill's collection that doesn't get mentioned a lot. I can only stress how, this is a film that when I first saw it, it instantly wanted me to watch it again because there's little things and bits and pieces that I liked about it. It deals with the legend of Faust, which is selling your soul to the devil. And of course, Robert Johnson, that legend has a lot of it. Some believe he sold his soul to the devil to become one of the greatest blues guitarists of all time. Besides Muddy Waters, we hear Willie Brown say, "Muddy waters invented electricity." Just a great thing. And Chicago's mentioned, of course. We are based in Chicago, so Chicago is the home of the blues, one of the big pioneers in the blues, um, and it's kind of cool that all this stuff kind of circles back to it. Just a cool fantasy film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And I know I said that for the other film too, but this is a film that when it first came out, I was like 1 years old, so I didn't see it till maybe I was like 10. And of course, I saw it on WGN with commercials. When I finally saw it in my 20s, I happened to see it on the movie channel, and I could never find it. Like now, it's be able to be bought digitally because of most DVD stuffs are going away. I actually happened to buy it on DVD before it ran out, but it's just one of those films that you couldn't find for a long time. But now it's on Prime for free. So if you have Amazon Prime, please check it out. It's also on Tubi. You can check it out on Tubi for free if you want to do the commercials. But just the music alone is worth it. The story is cool. It's kind of cool seeing Ralph Macchio outside of that Karate Kid role. He's mostly known for the Karate Kid. Yes, he was Johnny in The Outsiders. But come on, Ralph Macchio, his whole thing's Karate Kid now, which is good for him because that's his like bread and butter. But this is something that's different. It's something that he, plays a different type of role. Of course, he plays a young kid. I think he was like 25 when he plays a 17-year-old. But it's totally worth your time, and it's a cool little story. Walter Hill and John Fusco really knocked it out of the ballpark with this one. So be sure to check out Crossroads if you get a chance. Again, it is on Tubi and Amazon Prime. With that, that's what I watched this week. Got some other films I'm going to go see. I'm hopefully going to go see Spider-Man to take my son to go see that. I'm really, really looking forward to that coming out. And then hopefully get around to seeing The Odyssey. I heard so many good things about The Odyssey, but like I said, I've been so busy with everything. I haven't had a chance to actually go see it. So hopefully we can talk about that in the near future of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. But that's what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched over at the Pod on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck it's called this week. Or you can DM us at Lil Yumper or the Hookup on Music on Twitter. Or just leave your comments in the YouTube comments. Like always. With that, let's move on to some news. So I have a couple stories here. And Amazon is apparently already thinking about Heat 3 before Heat 2 has even started filming. Tom Holland apparently knows he wants to leave the Spider-Man behind. So that's pretty crazy. And Ryan Gosling was announced as Ghost Rider. And it's already inspiring MCU crossover ideas. And finally, ScreenRant has released a greatest TV shows list that is guaranteed to start arguments. Now, this list is 2024, but I had to talk about it and let you guys kind of debate about it since we're doing a solo show here and give some of my opinions on some things, and we'll go over it. But let's go into the first story, which is Hollywood already planning Heat 3? Well, according to ScreenRant, Amazon MGM and United Artists are moving forward with a Michael Mann's Heat 2 project, but reports say the third movie is already being plotted. Michael Mann reportedly has story details in mind, although Heat 3 has not officially even been greenlit yet. So that's pretty crazy considering that Michael Mann's Heat 2 is based on Meg Gardner's 2022 novel, which functions as both a prequel and a sequel to the original 95 movie. The story explores the characters before the original film while continuing Chris Relis' story afterwards. Leonardo DiCaprio and we have Christian Bale are reportedly lined up for the movie, with Adam Driver, Stephen Graham, who's another phenomenal actor, and Jason Clarke also reported to be part of the cast. We have, however, MGM, aka Amazon, cautioned that the cast deals were not officially closed when the Wrap published that report. And the production is supposed to start this year, November 2026. The most interesting part is that Amazon's not only thinking about theoretical box office. The company sees the original Heat as a title with long-term streaming value and potential for sequels, merchandise, and other extensions. So I want to ask you some questions. Are they getting their head of themselves before they even do Heat 2 to be planning a Heat 3? Personally, I think they are. I think Meg Gardner's 2022 novel is great. I've read it. I know one of friend of the show, Jason, head bum in charge of the Chicago Sports Bums, has read it. He also enjoyed it. But planning a third one is, to me, is a little, I guess, counting your chickens before they hatch is a thing my grandfather used to say. But I'm just hoping the next one, the Heat 2, is faithful to the book, and we'll see from there. I do love the cast. I love Pacino. I love De Niro, but of course they're older, and of course what happens to their characters besides Havana. We know that Robert De Niro's character had passed, and as well as Val Kilmer. But it's just crazy to think that you're planning a 3 already. There was talk a long time ago about a Heat 2 actually becoming a video game and having the two men come back and do for flashback scenes and whatnot. But it's just pretty crazy that they're already planning a part 3. And sometimes when that happens, it reminds you of the Fast and the Furious franchise, and it's just not good things, man. It's just not good things that are good feelings I have about it. Maybe I'm just being me, but I can't, fathom why would you think about that unless it's planned out like even Kevin Feige from Marvel, how he had all those movies prior to this current Marvel put out. He had them all planned, how they're all going to tie together, and also without Val Kilmer coming back as Chris Laris, who's going to play him now? I don't think they've officially announced who's playing who, but the rumor is Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be playing him. We have to see where it goes from here. Next question I want to ask is does Heat really need to be a franchise? Well, there is a second book. I mean, The Godfather was a franchise, right? We had The Godfather, The Godfather 2, and then we had everybody's favorite, The Godfather 3. But there are tons of Godfather books. The Sicilian, as well as the Omerta. Those books are considered Godfather lore. But does Heat really need to be part of the franchise? You have like I said, there were books like The Sicilian, The Last Don, The Godfather Returns, all that stuff from The Godfather, but he only has the other book of Heat 2, which is a prequel. So I don't know. I think it does need to deserve a sequel. I just hope they didn't wait too long for it. But again, if Michael Mann's behind it, hopefully he can do it justice. The last question I would like to ask you is kind of a two-parter. And I want you to think about this. We all know that Val Kilmer is no longer with us. And his role as Chris in the film was iconic. I mean, the fact when he switches out magazines, when he's shooting the gun during with the fight with I believe the police, that footage has been shown to actual departments of justice to show them the exact and proper way to switch out magazines under fire, which Val Kilmer was always proud of. But can Leonardo DiCaprio really replace him? Don't get me wrong, Leonardo DiCaprio, great actor, Oscar-winning actor. Val Kilmer could have been an Oscar-winning actor in his own right. But certain roles are for certain people. You know what I mean? There's certain roles that only, say, a Val Kilmer could play. Like, I wouldn't say Val Kilmer could play the role of Jack from Titanic. I mean, that was a Leonardo DiCaprio role, or could Leonardo DiCaprio play Real Genius? Maybe, but could he play as good as Val Kilmer? Could Leonardo DiCaprio play the role of our guy from Tombstone? Val Kilmer's role in Tombstone? Off the top of my head, I can't think of it right now. Doc Holliday, Jesus, I'm getting old. Can he play the role of Doc Holliday? I don't know. I'm sure it would be a different type of take on the role, but there's certain roles for certain actors. And sometimes when they're in that role, that's defined by them. There are exceptions. You have the Heath Ledger Joker and the Jack Nicholson Joker, two different aspects of the same character. But there is a caveat there because those two characters can be kind of changed due to the arc of the Joker in the comics. Whichever one, from Frank Miller's Joker to Cesar Romero's Joker to, the Joker in the original. You want to go Mark Hamill's Joker and the Batman series. It just depends. But ask yourself, can anybody really replace Val Kilmer? And if so, if that's the case, okay, you're cool with somebody replacing him. Would you rather see Michael Mann make one incredible sequel than stretch the story into several movies? Like, do we really need a Fast 10? Did this movie really, the Fast 9 really warrant a Fast 10? Except for the fact that it's for money. I don't know. Just think about those things. Personally, I'm excited about Heat 2, especially with Michael Mann directing. But talking about Heat 3 before the cameras roll feels like a modern Hollywood cash grab. Maybe the second movie's great. They release it. And they get a third one. But until then, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. Because I don't want to deal or feel that I'm watching another Hollywood cash grab. And frankly, I'm just fed up and tired of them. With the new independent films coming out, they're starting to kind of weed out those Hollywood, cash grabs. Like the Odyssey was done for thousands of years. It's written by a philosopher. But, you had the TV series with Amr Assad, and then you have the feature film with Christopher Nolan, which is closer to the lore, from what I heard, of the original story. And I think that's pretty cool. Those things can be done, but when you're doing just cash grabs for, Popeye Sailor Man became a damn public property, and now we're seeing Popeye Sailor Man damn horror films where he's killing people, or Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie. It's just cash grabs. Are they even worth your time? Unfortunately for me, I'm an idiot that will watch that stuff, but what can I tell you? The second story we're going to get into is, with the new Tom Holland film, the new Spider-Man, rumors are that Tom Holland says discussions about eventually passing the Spider-Man mantle have been happening since Spider-Man No Way Home. He described the plan as something that is already laid out, although it could still change. So this does not necessarily mean that Holland is leaving immediately. He has also said he's willing to continue playing Spider-Man for as long as Marvel and Sony want him to. But he has also said that once him and his wife Zendaya, who plays MJ in the Spider-Man series, have children, he might want to retire from acting to spend time with his family, and that's his own right. So we have to see. Now, who can replace Spider-Man? The clearest possibility is Miles Morales. Tom has said he wants to bring Miles Morales into a live action to help guide him the same way Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man guided him when he entered the MCU. He also supports multiple Spider-Man franchises existing simultaneously, kind of like we had in No Way Home, where we had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Animation, Into the Spider-Verse, and alternate versions. Now, Miles Morales doesn't have his own run with Into the Spider-Verse, but it would kind of cool to see him in live action. I do like the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield sayings as possible other Spider-Man, universes. which is kind of cool because they're kind of doing the same thing with Batman right now. They have the Batman, they had the Ben Affleck Batman, they had the Justice League, Batman with Ben Affleck. There's rumors about another Batman coming out. They have Clayface coming out, which is a Batman villain. They have the Penguin, so they're branching off from that initial Batman. But to have like Tobey Maguire swinging around as an old man as Spider-Man, to me, it just would crack me up. Would it be good? I don't know, but it would make me laugh. Andrew Garfield, I think, didn't get a good shake with the Spider-Man role. I thought he was good. I just think that his stories were just kind of underwhelming. And it really wasn't his fault. It was mostly the writing for them. And the villains kind of sucked the way they developed them. But, do them justice. Do an animated film with them. That'd be kind of cool. But I have a couple questions for you. So, if they do decide that Peter Parker, aka Tom Holland, is not going to be Spider-Man anymore, what should they do with them? Should he die? Should he retire? Or should he simply become Miles' mentor like he does in the video games? Is Miles Morales really ready to become the MCU's primary Spider-Man? Should Peter and Miles share the screen for an entire trilogy? Do you want to see 3 of them? Would replacing Tom Holland hurt the MCU? Or would it give it the Spider-Man franchise new energy? We see them trying to replace a lot of people. Although I don't think Sam as Captain America has gotten a fair shake. People are already calling that they want the original Captain America back, Steve Rogers, which to me doesn't make any sense because in the comics, Steve Rogers gets killed actually, and a new Captain America comes out. But, and this is another question I have. Are there becoming too many Spider-Man universes? Is Marvel MCU basically blowing through everything out of proportion? Some will say yes, but today they announced like the closing of a bunch of films, and a bunch of series that Marvel had closed today, which is getting a lot of, backlash. And it's like they have so much there and so much, potential, but you cancel Wonder Man, which was pretty good in the first season. And, you feel that like the Blade film is not coming out. Again, like I said, Sam from the new Captain America is sidelined, so he might even have not have a big role in here. So what are they doing? It's kind of a toss up. I know I'm throwing out all these questions. I'm just rambling on, but I kind of want you guys to think for yourself. And what do you want to see? What is something that you agree with? Do you want Spider-Man to die? Do you want to become a mentor? Do you want to just have him retire? It's up to you. To me, the smartest ending for Hollywood probably isn't killing off Peter Parker. Let him grow into an experienced Spider-Man that he never had a chance to become. He's always been that kid. I want them to introduce Miles, and I want the relationship to be, between them to carry the next phase. Kind of like the passing of the torch. I would like to see that. And then, that kind of holds out for Holland to make little guest appearances later on. And then maybe, if Tom does have kids or, he takes time off from acting and he makes a big comeback, he can come back and do a Miles Morales film, as the person coming back. Just like they did the No Way Home when they had, Will Dafoe come back as the Green Goblin, and you had, Doc Ock return, and of course the horrible, Sandman and Electro come back, which just bad characters. But you had them come back, which is kind of cool because it's nostalgia. Andrew Garfield come back. Yeah, so I think the best way is probably to just introduce him as a mentor and have him kind of like build that relationship before he passes that torch. What do you guys think? But speaking of Marvel, they introduced a new hero, well, an old hero with a new face. And fans are already imagining who he would fight. This week, they announced Ryan Gosling as the new Ghost Rider. And to me, I think that's a great choice. Ryan Gosling has been rumored to be involved in the Marvel Universe. Uh, as far as back as Barbie, I really loved him in Blade Runner 2049. I liked him in Gangster Squad. Ryan Gosling is a very, very good actor. Doesn't get enough respect for it. I mean, he was in La La Land. He did get nominated. And in Ken and Barbie, he was great. But in action roles, Driver, he was awesome. And just little things like that. And I think he'd be a badass Ghost Rider. And I hope it's more serious than the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider. Although I do like Nick Cage, I just think that a superhero film like that was kind of out of his reach, out of his realm. But having Gosling come back and come into this role, I'm looking forward to seeing how they build it from there. He, of course, was announced that he was going to be the new Ghost Rider at the San Diego Comic-Con on July 25th. Sean Levy is directing the project, which is expected to be in 2028. Although Marvel still hasn't announced the set date because that's what Marvel does. But of course, when this got announced, there's been a whole bunch of, well, who's Ghost Rider going to go against? Like, who's Ghost Rider going to fight? And one of the big things that came out within the fan community of MCU is that they want to see Ghost Rider battle Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. So there's been fan art made about this of the Ghost Rider like using the flaming chain against Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, which is something that to me is like, of all the characters you want Shang-Chi to face, but it's interesting because the mystical Ten Rings will provide a believable connection to Marvel's supernatural world, which is kind of cool. But the question here to me is the tone. Like, I want Ghost Rider to be horror. I want violence. I want dark. I don't want the Nicolas Cage like cookie cutter bullshit. I'm sorry. I want it to be dark. I want the superheroes to be dark again, like Logan dark. Maybe not that dark because that was made a lot of people cry, but I want it to be grimy. I want it to be like something that is closer to the original feeling of the aspect of the character. Constantine was a good level setter there, even though he's DC, but something like in that realm. And then they're making like these superheroes like a little too, I guess, PG. And Ghost Rider is not a PG superhero, in my opinion. You want to see that supernatural, consequences with it. You need the violence with it. You need a lighter joke heavy Marvel approach would weaken like, the light joking around like Thor Ragnarok would kind of weaken the character more. And I think that's what made the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider kind of suffer, was because it was kind of like very, very comedic, and which is sometimes good, but sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, it's just corny. Sometimes my head's on fire. Like, come on, man. It just made this character weak. So I have some questions for you guys. Is Ryan Gosling the right choice for Ghost Rider? Do you think Ghost Rider should be R-rated? Should they connect him with Shang-Chi? Blade? I mean, Blade has been basically thrown off. Moon Knight, although Isaac has said that he's not coming back until they stop dealing with fascists. Or even Doctor Strange. Would you like him to battle one of them or team up? Would you prefer a serious horror movie or a supernatural action blockbuster? Did you like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Sam Raimi, known for horror. I loved it. Sam Raimi had. Not a lot of people liked it. I loved it. I'm an Evil Dead fan. I like that kind of gore and horror films, the funny gore. I like that. It was kind of like scary a little bit. Would I love to see it in here? Hell yeah. In fact, you know what? Personally, I think The artwork is cool with the Shang-Chi versus the Ghost Rider villain. I didn't post it because I can't get really good images of it. But first, let's establish Ghost Rider as a frightening supernatural character. And honestly, if they can maybe work out something with Disney and have it released as a series, like they did The Punisher, which I think Joe Berthal's Punisher is the best version of it, and build upon that way, it'd be better. Just like they did with WandaVision, just like they did with Loki. Build upon that, make it better, and then do your your feature film. That to me would be something that I would really look forward to. Flesh it out, make him, somebody that is scary. And it'll be something different on the, Disney Channel stream app or the Marvel stream app. It's just something that I want to see. Like, but what do you want to see? Like, is this something that you're looking forward to? Is this something that you want to see? Is Ryan Gosling the right guy? Personally, for me, I'm happy he has his shot. He's been talking to him for a while. Let's get into it, man. Let him rock and roll. Let Ryan Gosling, let him fly. He's a bird. He needs to fly. But make it dark, please, God. Make it dark. I don't want to see any more happy-go-lucky superheroes. I mean, I didn't see Supergirl, and I am going to see it. But from what I saw in the previews of Lobo being kind of like a little like happy-go-lucky, I'm like, oh. But James Gunn will save me from it. I know he will, so I don't want to just cast too much disdain on it because I haven't watched it yet. But please. Like Lobo's not a character that I'm not a big comic guy, but there was characters that I knew about: Lobo, Ghost Rider, Joker. The three main villain characters or supernatural characters, and Constantine. I actually read. That's the only comic book I actually really read was Hellstarter. It was his Constantine, Hellblazer, and those characters. I would like them to be done very well. Which Constantine has been done well with the Keanu Reeves, portrayal. But the Matthew Ryan Constantine character is just, to me, was just better for the series. But, don't cookie cutter it. Don't make it soft. Bring out, get shit ready. Bring him out. Make him wear his big boy pants. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna love him if he's bad either way. I mean, they're gonna like him. They have to. They have to just flesh out these characters instead of just trying to make them appeal to kids. You can do both, but people love the Punisher, and Punisher's not. My kid loves him, and he doesn't even watch he doesn't like blood and anything, but he did. He doesn't. I mean, he still likes thinks the Punisher's cool, even though the Punisher's not really a kid friendly action hero. You can do it. You proved it with that. Do it with Ghost Rider. And the last story I'm going to get into here is ScreenRant ranked the top 10, the top 50 television shows, going from 50 to 1. Now, here are some of the things I'm going to give you here. I'm going to give you the top 10. At number 10, we got Modern Family. Number 9, The Office. Number 8, The Golden Girls. Number 7, Friends. Number 6, Mad Men. Number 5, Star Trek, the original series. Number 4, The Wire. Number 3, The Simpsons. Number 2, The Sopranos. And number 1 was Breaking Bad. Again, this list was released in 2024, but to me, having Breaking Bad over Sopranos is just a horrible choice due to the fact that the actors from Breaking Bad. Walter White himself, Bryan Cranston, has said there would be no Walter White if there was no Tony Soprano. The Sopranos, to me, in my opinion, is the greatest television series to exist. Now, if you're Matt Crawford, he'll tell me it sucks. Hey, it's not for everybody. But in my opinion, it's just the writing. David Chase was great. Let's not talk about Many Saints of New York. I think that movie had too much hype, and it kind of us going with too big of expectations kind of wore it down. But that's a fight for another day. But in terms of series and TV shows, Sopranos was like primetime watch TV every Sunday. When I first started watching it, I watched it on AMC. I mean, I saw it when it was running, and then when they did the reruns on AMC, I was watching. And there's AMC's like that PAX channel, when they had on a Mad TV where they called the swearing. I actually got the DVDs and watched it full through, and I got hooked. I've seen The Sopranos at least 15 times. My wife laughs whenever I start it up again, and it's just one of those things that is iconic. James Gandolfini is iconic. David Chase's writing is iconic. Edie Falco, perfect for her role. It's perfectly cast, perfect characters. You get characters from mob movies that are brought in, not the actual characters, but the actors. Pompacero, who's in there, Victor Pastor. You have Paulie. He's from, the character who plays him, Tony Sirico, is actually from Goodfellas and other films. Scotty. You even have the Green Book actor, Tony Lip, in there. Ralph Cifaretto, Joey Pants. Just great casting. And I'm not going to make this all about The Sopranos, but I'm just saying that to me is kind of the weird thing. The second thing is The Simpsons at number 3. The Simpsons are iconic. They've been around for 40 years. Some say they should be done with already. But a lot of old Simpson heads that I talk to say the first 8 seasons were the best. And then it kind of drops off. So I don't know if it's there for longevity or if it's there, it's probably there for longevity. But I can't remember the last time I watched The Simpsons, a newer episode of The Simpsons. I don't know what the hell's going on in the lore. So maybe that's just me. But it's still running, so somebody's got to be watching it. Star Trek above Mad Men was kind of a little crazy to me too, but Star Trek being number 5, Mad Men being number 6, because Star Trek is a great series, don't get me wrong, but I thought Mad Men kind of represented more prestige television. It's more carefully written than Star Trek. So maybe they're going off fandom. I don't know. I don't know. One thing I will say though, Friends being at number 7, get the hell out of here. Friends is a horrible show. I don't care what anybody tells me. If you want to talk about, something that does not entertain me at all, even when I watch old episodes of Friends, I don't like it. It's about 4 Caucasian people in New York, a city that is a melting pot of people. And it's just, to me, it's horrible laughs. Like, people complain about the Big Bang Theory and the laugh track. This is how I feel about Friends. I just can never get into it. I prefer Cheers over Friends, which kind of was crazy that Cheers didn't even make the top 10. It was actually number 12. This list is just full of things that was kind of like, what were they doing? I mean, even going down the list here, we have Better Call Saul is number 13. And then you have Stranger Things, number 14. Lost, number 15. Over Seinfeld, The Twilight Zone. Doctor Who, number 17. Again, over Seinfeld and Twilight Zone. I'm not a Seinfeld fan, but I understand why people love it. The Twilight Zone, I can see it's been an older, series, and it kind of had its run, but it was revolutionary to the horror. Rod Serling, it brought out the paranormal thing. There would be no outer limits. I know Jordan Peele had did the newer Twilight Zone, but the old ones I still watch and they still hold up to this day. They're still very, very good. Um, but I don't know. This list is the Orange News Black is at number 32. You got South Park at 40, Deadwood at 39. I mean, Deadwood to me should be way higher than This Is Us, than Friday Night Lights, than The Crown. They're more higher than Parks and Recreation. You got The Handmaid's Tale at 26. Twin Peaks at 23. I think Twin Peaks is better than Stranger Things. I think Twin Peaks should be in the top 15. If you take out Friends and move that down, it could be number 15, and Lost go up to 14. You can even take out Stranger Things, and it's Downtown Abbey's number 50. The Jeffersons number 49. It's just, I don't know, man. This list is just, to me, it's just strange. But that's my rant. I'll link the list in the show description so you guys can check it out and let me know what you think. Let me know, this is my news section. Let me know whether Heat should become a trilogy. Who should replace Tom Holland as Spider-Man? If you have any guesses of that. Is Ryan Gosling the right ghostwriter of all time? Is he the right ghostwriter for right now? And what do you consider the greatest television show of all time, man? There's a talking aspect. Let us know where you guys feel in the comments or on the Twitters. That's enough of my rambling. Right now, I'm going to do a quick ad for my company, Penguin Imprints. So let's start to look at that in 1 second. I don't think I have any music for it. I do have this playing though. This. That's all Tony putting that in there.
Talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire.
And there's the Mexican Chucky. But I digress. Let's get into this ad read. Oop. It looks like we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But let's get into this ad read before we go into our tribute. And, are you looking for custom gear? Are you looking for custom gear that stands out? At Penguin Imprints, we create custom shirts, tumblers, as well as engraved gifts, stickers, you name it, I create it. We just did a great order for Joy. You guys know her as Sock's mom, 1972. We did some order for her and her daughter. They're going to see the Hilary Duff concert, and my wife did a mock-up of one of her pictures, cleaned it up for her. I had it printed. We pressed it, sent it out within a week. So I usually get stuff out as quick as possible. Whether you need something for your business, team, event, or the personalized gift, will bring your idea to life. Shop our latest designs or contact us at customorder@penguinimprints.com. Again, that's customorder@penguinimprints.com. You can check us out at www.penguinimprints.com. If you use the code Baloney or Bleacher Bunch, if you're a Cubs fan, you get 20% off. Shipping is free over orders of $75 for stickers or apparel. So be sure to check us out there. I have a bunch of stuff that dropped. I have Indigenous designs. I have Leftist Best designs. I have the White Sox and Cubs designs. I have baseball designs in terms of, Legend Series, Legends Never Fade, of these bottle openers that are card steel bottle owners engraved. They came out really, really cool. If you check out the website, they're on there. And we have a ton of shirts. I also do custom orders. Like I said, I do business cards. We do engraved coasters, tumblers, whatever. If you have a project and you're thinking about getting it done, contact me and we will work with you. We also try not to give the highest price out there. I try to give reasonable rates because I know it's a project that you love. And that's something I tried to do when I was doing my own personal stuff. Was I was either getting overcharged or people were mostly in for the profit. I'm mostly into build community, build the business with trust. So I will not rip you off. So be sure to check us out at penguinimprints.com. But with that, man, I kind of gave away what I wanted to talk about. And we're going to remove this guy really quick. We're going to go into the meat and potatoes of the show. As you know, we had a person had passed away recently. And it was the great Sam Neill. Now, Sam was, a great actor. He passed away in Sydney on July 13, 2026, at the age of 78. His family described his death as sudden and unexpected and said that he remained cancer free at the time of his passing. If you remember, Sam had come out and said he had cancer. And then he came out saying he was cancer free, which I thought was awesome because I love Sam, big person in my childhood. But when he passed, they said he was surrounded by families. For millions of people, Sam Neill will always be Dr. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park. That role alone would have been enough to secure his place in movie history. Alan Grant became one of the most defining movie heroes of the 1990s, and Sam Neill made audiences believe that a real paleontologist was standing in front of living dinosaurs. But Sam was much more than one character. He could play a warm and reluctant father figure. He could play an intelligent professional slowly losing his grip on reality. He could be charming, funny, frightening, romantic, authoritative, or completely unhinged. He appeared equally comfortable in a giant Steven Spielberg blockbuster, an independent drama, a period TV series, and a supernatural horror film, or a strange New Zealand comedy. His career moved from films as My Brilliant Career, Possession, A City in the Dark, Dead Calm and The Hunt for Red October, The Piano, Jurassic Park, Event Horizon, Hunt for Wilder People, and Peaky Blinders. He could be a reassuring center of a movie one year and be the most disturbing characters in the next. There was so much more unusually humane about him. Sam Neill rarely performed like someone who was trying to show the audience how hard he was acting. He had natural intelligence and calmness on screen. He allowed you to see characters thinking. Even when he was saying nothing, you could usually understand what was happening behind his eyes. He had that look. The quality made him the perfect person to place inside extraordinary situations. Whether he was looking at a dinosaur, investigating a missing horror novelist, exploring a ship that apparently traveled through hell, or confronting Tommy Shelby, he gave the audience someone believable to follow. Steven Spielberg remembered him as an irreplaceable member of the Jurassic Park family, while Cillian Murphy described his former Peaky Blinders co-star as one of the finest actors and one of the kindest, funniest, and gentlest people he had ever known. So today, rather than trying to rank what critics consider Sam Neill's 5 objectively greatest performances, I'm talking about my 5 personal favorites. There are many major performances that will not be on my list, but hey, it's my damn list. You could easily build another one listed around films like Dead Calm, The Piano, Possession, The Hunt for Red October, The Omen 3. Man, he was Damien, yo. Merlin, or The Hunt for Wilder People. But these are my 5 roles that stand out to most to me. There'll be spoilers in here, but most of these movies are old. So if you haven't seen them, I don't know what to tell you, yo. But with further ado, let's get in to number 5.
Doctors are men who prescribe medicines of which they know little, to cure diseases of which they know less, and men of whom they know nothing at all.
2013's Escape Plan, which stars Sylvester Stallone as Ray Breslin, one of the world's leading experts on prison security. A little synopsis: Breslin has an unusual method of testing prisons where he basically allows himself to get arrested, incarcerated, and under an assumed identity, and then he studies every weak part of the facility and then escapes by breaking out. He shows the prison officials basically where they're lacking in terms of security. He's eventually offered a high secretive assignment involving an unofficial prison designated to hold people whom governments and powerful organizations want to disappear. And he accepts the assignment. Instead of entering prison as part of a controlled test, Breslin becomes a real inmate. His tracking device is removed, his emergency extraction code is ignored, and he is locked inside a technologically advanced facility known as the Tomb. The Tomb is controlled by a cold and a sadistic Warden Hobbs, played by Jim Caviezel. Breslin soon forms an alliance with another prisoner, Emil Rottmeyer, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Together, they must determine where the prison is located, discover how its security system works, and then eventually break out. Sam Neill, however, plays the role of Dr. Kyrie, the physician responsible for treating the Tomb prisoners. So Dr. Kyrie is not the biggest role in Escape Plan, but he is one of the movie's most important supporting characters. Reason being, when he first meets him, he appears to be another employee who has accepted the prison's brutal system. But he works inside a secret facility while prisoners have no rights and no legal protections. Almost no chance of being discovered, basically. The prisoners are, unknowns. But Kyrie is surrounded by heavily surrounded guards, that are armed. He works directly under Hobbs. But open rebellion from the prisoners would probably cause his death. So because of that, Sam Neill does not play him like an obvious hero. He plays Kyrie as a man who has learned to keep his true feelings hidden. There is things that he thinks about but won't say. There's intelligence in this performance, but there's also discomfort. He gives the impression that Kyrie knows more than he should, or he knows, what he's doing is wrong. He understands that people are controlling the Tomb, are abusing medicine, they're abusing the patients, they're abusing isolation, they're suffering as tools of punishment for the prisoners. And as Breslin continues communicating with him, Kyrie slowly recognizes that the prisoner may be different. He's not really a bad guy. Breslin's not simply trying to receive medical treatment. He's studying the facility and searching for someone whose conscience has not been completely destroyed. And he makes the eventual decision to feel believable, because he doesn't want to transform into a superhero. Neill makes him like a person that's, that believes, all these pent up feelings I had of this, all these pent up feelings I had of this character or this, these actions I'm performing at this facility. Maybe I'm right. Maybe they are wrong. Maybe there is, should be restraint here. And I think that's what I really like about the role. The film's built mostly around a Stallone and Schwarzenegger, two physically imposing guys. It was their first film since The Expendables 2. But with just them though, with just them in it as the leads. And I think that the reason this makes my list for Sam Neill is because he's just a supporting role. He took a small supporting role and basically made it his own. He doesn't have like a big speech in it that has dramatic, action sequence to become memorable. He just is a person that has intelligence, authority, and empathy. And it's one of the few people inside a tomb who still behaves like a human being. And I thought, him questioning his role in all this just made his casting perfect. Now, don't get me wrong. Escape Plan is not a Oscar-winning movie, but sometimes you have those roles in those films that make it better, more enjoyable. And his little role in this film, to me, made it more enjoyable. He plays that conflict of what should I do without overdoing it. And that just shows how great of an actor Sam Neill was. But him being controlled with his feelings is understated. But the next role I chose him for, he begins to basically disappear to reality, or what his concept of reality is. That scene always cracks me up. For number 4, we're going with In the Mouth of Madness, released in 1995, directed by the great John Carpenter, which stars Sam Neill as John Trent, who plays a highly skeptical insurance investigator. He specializes in uncovering fraud. He believes that almost everyone has a financial motive, and that every mystery has a rational explanation. His latest assignment involves Sutter Kane, the world's most popular horror novelist. Kane's books are creating an unusual intense response among readers. Some people are becoming violent. Others appear to lose their sanity, like apparently he does in that clip. When Kane disappears shortly before the release of his newest novel, his publisher hires Trent to investigate. Trent initially believes that the disappearance is a publicity stunt for the book. While studying the covers of Kane's novels, Trent discovers that artwork forms a map leading to Hobbs End, a supposedly fictional New England town that only appears in Kane's stories. There's a lot of Stephen King aspect in here, like Castle Rock, in this film, which I love. I love John Carpenter. Trent travels with editor Linda Stiles. Once they arrive there, they find locations, characters, and events taken directly from Kane's books. The boundary between fiction and reality begins disappearing. Trent eventually realizes that Kane may not simply be writing stories, he's writing and reshaping the world. And the people reading it may be helping transform it, which I think is really, really cool. To me, this is one of his most demanding performances. Because he has to travel an enormous psychological feature here. At the beginning, he's sarcastic and confident. He's certain of his own intelligence. He's kind of a smart ass, a know-it-all. He looks like he thinks fear is a weakness. He does not believe in monsters. He doesn't believe in supernatural forces. He doesn't even kind of believe in mass insanity. He thinks it's all bullshit. He's an insurance fraud investigator, man. He's not going to take bullshit. He's got to keep his toes on the on what's going on. And to me, he does a great job of playing that skeptic. And then essentially as the movie transitions, he needs to accept what's going on. And slowly, he's starting to lose his damn mind as it happens. Each new experience he's having in this new world is basically removing another piece of that confidence of being Mr. Know-It-All, of believing this doesn't really exist. This doesn't really happen. The road to Hobbs End refuses to behave logically. People and places repeat themselves. Characters seem aware that they are characters. Images from Kane's books are like appearing in the real world. Trent tries to organize everything into a rational explanation, but reality is no longer following the rational rules. And Neil's performance becomes more physical as it continues. His postures changes. His eyes become, more moving, and urgent. They're like he's constantly like looking around. His voice becomes less controlled, as in that clip. I mean, in the picture I have up here, he's smiling at a film. Like you could tell this man's fucking losing his mind. And it's just perfect. Sam Neill had a unique ability to portray intelligent men confronting something beyond their understanding. He knocks this one out of the ballpark, man. He never makes Trent look foolish, although I laugh at some of the things, but he never makes him look foolish in the film. from rejecting supernatural stuff. There's so many skeptics out there, you know. And for his role, he has to be skeptic. He's a insurance fraud investigator. You know, the grounding of that character makes the later horror more disturbing as he loses his mind, in my opinion. When his character loses control, we understand how much has been taken from him. Like, Neill plays it to the point where the guy's lost everything, and when his mind's gone, he doesn't know what's real and what isn't. And it also has a great twisting, you know, in the film. You know, he's nervous. Neill plays as a nervous, you know, character as he finds out, hey, you know, this could be real. You know, maybe it is real. You know, and that questioning is what makes me love this role so much. Neill just knocks it out of the ballpark. If you have not seen this film, I highly encourage you to watch it. You know, the crazy thing about this film is that there are two other films that John Carpenter had made, and they are a part of his unofficial apocalypse trilogy. The other being The Thing and The Prince of Darkness, which I did review in the 31 Days of Horror. This is considered the third one. The three stories are not connected by characters or continuity, but each deals with humanity confronting a force capable of ending or transforming civilization. And this is, of course, in the month of madness is a reference to H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, which borrows us themes like forbidden knowledge and, you know, cosmic forces that cause insanity, which this film touches on. To me, John Trent, the character, allows Sam Neill to display every stage of fear. He begins with disbelief, then he experiences confusion, frustration, anger. He panics, and finally, batshit crazy, a psychological collapse. It's a fearless performance because Neill is willing to look ridiculous and emotionally destroyed. But it's so damn believable. He doesn't protect himself as an actor. He leaves himself vulnerable. And I love it, man. I just love it. He lets us see that John Trent fell apart, and he shows it to all of us. Man, if you haven't seen The Mouth of Madness, I highly, highly recommend. But since in this case, you know, John Trent discovers that fiction can become reality, the character at number 3 discovers something even worse, that humanity may have opened a doorway to a place it was never meant to reach.
Your beautiful ship killed its crew, Doctor.
Well, now she has another crew. Now she has us.
Oh, man, his creepy look in that film was so great. We're going to roll for number 3, the 1997 film Event Horizon. Shout out to Keelan 12-Foot Skeleton. She loves this film. The film takes place in 2047. A rescue vessel called the Lewis and Clark is sent towards Neptune after receiving a distress signal from the Event Horizon. Yes, this is a sci-fi film. Sci-fi horror. An experimental spacecraft that vanished 7 years earlier. The Event Horizon was designed to travel enormous distances using a gravity drive. Instead of moving through normal space, the drive creates like an artificial black hole and folds space so that two distant locations briefly occupy the same point. Basically, it folds over a paper. That's the way Sam Neill explains it. Sam Neill's character is Dr. William Weir, the scientist who designed the ship and its revolutionary engine. So he created this whole thing. When the rescue crew boards the Event Horizon, they discover that the original crew is missing. The ship appears abandoned, but strange events begin affecting everyone who enters it. Crew members experience visions based on their deepest guilt, grief, and fear. The ship does not merely appear haunted, but it seems alive, and it understands exactly how to psychologically destroy each person. The crew eventually discovers that the Event Horizon does not simply travel into space. It passed through another dimension. Oh my God.
Wow. Wowie, wow, wow, wow.
This dimension was defined by chaos, violence, and suffering, and brought something back with it. Dr. Weir, still grieving the suicide of his wife, becomes increasingly connected to the ship and the force controlling it. The man who created the Event Horizon ultimately becomes its human representative. So, Sam Neill as Dr. William Weir. His performance begins with grief because his wife passed, rather than the madness that we saw from the last film, of where he was serious and then kind of this a catastrophic event kind of affected this character. He's proud of his invention, the event Horizon. It represents the greatest accomplishment of his life and achievements. At the same point, the project consumed him and contributed to the collapse of his personal life. His wife died by suicide while he was consumed by his work, so he's guilty over everything. When he returns to the ship, he is not simply investigating a missing vessel, he's returning to the physical embodiment of his ambition and his guilt. So that's working against him. Sam Neill initially plays Weir as a quiet, professional, and emotionally isolated character. He's not comfortable with the rescue crew, and they are not particularly comfortable with him. He's an introvert, which, I mean, to be honest with you, most scientists and people higher ups that are very, very intelligent kind of are. I work in tech, shitload of introverts there. Since he's a scientist among military personnel, and he knows more about the event Horizon than anyone else, the crew kind of like, who is this dude? Which again makes him kind of uneasy around him. Now, this performance gradually reveals that Weir's scientific confidence is covering an enormous emotional wound. The ship, when it becomes alive, understands that wound. It begins showing him visions of Claire, his wife. These visions offer him both punishment and temptation. They accuse him of abandoning her, but they also suggest that he might somehow be reunited with her. Neill makes Weir's corruption frightening because it is rooted in something understandable. He does not simply become evil because the script needs a villain. He's lonely, man. He misses his wife. He's a grieving man who wants to believe that death is not the end. And that's what hits home. How many times have you heard that? Death can't be the end. We hear it every day. People are afraid of death because they think it's the end, but then they're like, it can't be the end. It has to be something. Religions created, traditions, followings, maybe to mask that end. But then you have people like the atheists and agnostics who believe there is no end. Well, there is an end, but there's nothing afterwards. You just die. Pretty scary shit, man. When Weir explains to the crew no longer leaves their eyes, their eyes where they are going, Neill delivers the idea with absolute certainty and craziness, man. In his mind, he is no longer threatening them, he's preparing them. And by I mean no eyes, look at this dude here. Jesus Christ, when I saw Sam Neill in this role with this look, and Lawrence Fishburne's face tells it, I'm like, holy shit, man. It's just phenomenal. Some actors would divide the performance into two obvious parts, the normal scientist and demonic villain. Sam Neill doesn't do that. He gradually lets it happen, which is why I love his acting so much. You can see his fascination with the ship before you see its corruption of him. Like I said, it's like it's baggage. It's that it represents good and bad things. You can see how desperately he wants the creation to mean something. He thinks it cost him his wife to pass due to his work ethic, due to his obsession. So it has to mean something. And then you see how the ship uses grief to remove his resistance. Like it kind of, come here, take part of me. You did all this for your grief. This is what we created this, and it makes him vulnerable. Even under the heavy makeup and horror body effects, he continues acting with his voice and physical control, which is why I love this film. Movements of Sam Neill become deliberate. He stops reacting like a frightened human and begins moving like he's a part of the ship, like he's part of a tool, you know. And this is why it's one of the most memorable characters of the 1990s science fiction horror, if not, horror in general. He's both a victim and a villain. This is number 3 because in the Mouth of Madness, because Dr. Weir represents everything Sam Neill did well in horror. He's intelligent, damaged emotionally, and initially trustworthy. And he makes us sympathize with the guy before making us afraid of him. And that's awesome. You can see, you feel sorry for his character. And then you see how he's became what he became and why he became what he became. He's corrupted by, supernatural forces. His humanity is basically taken away from him and makes this horror more tragic that he has to resort to this. Event Horizon is a great, great film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend this. Very, very underrated film. Very, very underrated. Maybe in the future we'll do a deeper dive on this, but Sam Neill in this role is one of my all-time favorites, just for that transition, that feeling of empathy and sadness for a character that you're eventually become scared of in the future. But number 2 does not need supernatural powers to be frightening. He has authority, religious certainty, political backings, and a personal obsession with destroying a certain person by the name of Tommy Shelby.
I know it was you who carried out the murder of Mr. Duckin.
That scene is very powerful. Just the look of the two, the deep voice, the pointing of his cane into Cillian Murphy. Powerful. So this role is called, the name of the role character he plays is Chief Inspector Chester Campbell. Here's a quick character synopsis of him. Peaky Blinders begins in Birmingham in 1919, shortly after the end of the First World War. The story follows Tommy Shelby, played by Cillian Murphy, and the Shelby family's growing criminal organization. At the beginning of the series, Peaky Blinders accidentally reacquire a shipment of government weapons. Winston Churchill sends his chief inspector, Chester Campbell, played by Sam Neill, from Belfast to recover the guns, remove political radicals, and clean up the Birmingham corrupt police force. Neill will go on to reprise a role for 12 episodes in the first two seasons. Campbell enters Birmingham believing that he represents the law. He's a badass. He represents morality, and he's in order. He views the city as a disease and sees himself as the man chosen to cleanse it. Sounds kind of crazy, right? To infiltrate the Peaky Blinders, he uses Grace Burgess as an undercover operative. Grace begins working inside the Shelby organization, but eventually falls in love with Tommy, which kind of fucks up his plans. And Campbell also develops feelings for Grace. Oh, you can see that coming, right? Her rejection of him humiliates him, makes his campaign against Tommy increasingly personal. When Campbell returns in the second season, he has been promoted to major, but he is more bitter, violent, and obsessive. He uses political power, blackmail, and brutality to force Tommy into carrying out a government assassination. By this point, Campbell is no longer pursuing a criminal. He wants to control, degrade, and destroy Tommy Shelby and everyone around him. Campbell is probably he is one of the most important antagonists in the early years of Peaky Blinders, which is a phenomenal show, by the way, on Netflix. Sam Neill understands that Campbell does not think of himself as a villain. He believes he's righteous, which to me makes you even more evil in certain ways. Think of it as a cult leader. They think they're righteous even though they're doing horrible shit. Same thing in police force. We're dealing with the same thing in the ICE people. I'm sorry. The people that support ICE think it's righteous. It's complete fucking bullshit. in my opinion. I'm sorry if you don't like it. Tough shit. But back to this. He believes he's righteous. The belief is that the foundation of the performance that he does, Campbell can lie, torture, threaten, manipulate people while continuing to see himself as morally superior to the criminals he's pursuing. I can do this to you, but you don't matter because you're below me. This is the kind of feeling. And Sam Neill gives a tremendous physical presence in this role. As you can see from that clip, tremendous physical presence. Just his smirk, the way he looks at people, the way he points, like in this scene here. You know, he's just phenomenal. The character of Campbell often enters a room slowly and deliberately. He does not need to shout immediately. He's soft-spoken sometimes because his position already gives him power. Even in that scene I played for you, he's very soft-spoken while being incredibly intimidating to Tommy. His uniform, his posture, and his controlled speech tell everyone that the government stands behind him, that he's the man. But underneath all that is insecurity. Tommy Shelby possesses qualities that Campbell doesn't. Tommy inspires loyalty. He understands the streets. Women are drawn to him. He can move between criminal organizations, political movements, and respectable society. While Campbell, he's powerful, but nobody likes him. He's not loved. Sam Neill gradually allows the resentment to emerge. You know, has this build up. Campbell's pursuit of Tommy becomes less about recovering weapons and more of his own obsession. And I think that the relationship with Grace basically exposes him even further to doing that. He's more about proving he's a better man. He doesn't give a shit about the law really that much anymore. And in the second season, he becomes even more darker. He's supposed morality collapses under wounded pride and sexual jealousy, basically. The character is physically wounded, emotionally humiliated, and completely focused on revenge. But Neill still finds traces of vulnerability inside. In the official production notes, Neill described Campbell as a man of extreme contradictions, deeply religious, capable of great violence, and convinced that his mission placed him on the side of righteousness. Neill also believed that Campbell was emotionally damaged and possibly incapable of understanding love in a healthy way. That interpretation is basically visible to everything Sam Neill does. He is phenomenal. I know I keep saying this about him, but he is so great. He's frightening, but he's also pathetic. And Neill performs this to a T, man. His cruelty comes from power combined with personal weakness. We see that now. We see that with the big leaders, the leaders that act like they're big and powerful, but in reality, they're weak men. They're just piece of shit people. And his chemistry with Cillian Murphy is central for the first two seasons. Tommy rarely allows Campbell to see fear. Now, even when Campbell has more legal power, Tommy treats him like another opponent whose weakest can be sight. The only real time that we see Tommy a little bit afraid is when that hospital room there. Is when he does that with him. Campbell is just, to me, is not simply an obstacle for Tommy Shelby. He's a complete character with his own moral code, desires, weaknesses, and self-deprecations. Sam Neill could have played him as a straightforward villain, but he instead created a man who uses religion and duty to hide jealousy, resentment, and cruelty. He makes Campbell frightening without removing his humanity. And in some ways, humanity makes him even fucking worse. He simply chooses to refine those ideas, whether they conflict with his own personal desires, which I think is done perfectly. It is one of Sam Neill's strongest television performances, and one of the primary reasons the first two seasons of Peaky Blinders are so effective. To me, there'd be no Peaky Blinders film without Sam Neill. Cillian Murphy set the table. Sam Neill came in and cleaned it up. And that built the foundation going forward, in my opinion. And you only get it for 12 episodes. So if you can, watch the first two seasons and tell me what you think. Because I wasn't really feeling the when I first saw the commercials for this. I was like, I don't know. I love Cillian Murphy, and then you know what? Somebody told me Sam Neill's in it. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out, and I love it. So check out Peaky Blinders, and of course, there's a film coming out with it. So in the future, continuing the story. So watch the series. Let me know what you guys think. But with that, for my number one choice, we return to a role that introduced Sam Neill to millions of moviegoers. How can I not talk about this role?
Don't move. Can't see us if we don't move.
You know I was going to have to talk about it. The number one pick is Jurassic Park, a film released in 1993 and directed by Steven Spielberg. Jurassic Park was based on the Michael Crichton novel. Basically, the synopsis of the film is billionaire John Hammond has created a theme park of fictional island on the fictional island of Nublar, located off the coast of Costa Rica. And he uses genetic material preserved inside ancient mosquitoes, which I always thought was funny, to clone dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are all female. And before the park can open, an employee is killed by a velociraptor. The park's investors demand the outside experts inspect the facility and determine whether it's safe. So he invites paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Sattler, mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm to tour the island. Hammond's grandchildren also come. Tim and Lex come join them. The visit starts off pretty cool. They love seeing dinosaurs for the first time. But after an employee, Dennis Neardy, disables the security system to attempt to steal dinosaur embryos, all hell breaks loose and the dinosaurs go wild. Grant eventually becomes responsible for protecting Tim and Lex as they attempt to survive. What was intended to be a controlled preview becomes a fight for survival against Tyrannosauruses, velociraptors, and natural world that refuses to remain under humane control. Now, before I continue, I wrote all this shit. So if this is all like too boring to you guys, let me know. So when I do another solo show in the future, if I do one, I can narrow it down. But I like to write when I'm really passionate about stuff. But anyway, so Dr. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, is not written as a traditional action hero, in my opinion. He's a scientist. He's comfortable at a dig site, working with fossils. He doesn't like kids. He likes working with fossils, constructing theories and about animals that disappeared millions of years ago. He's a dork, but very smart guy. His authority comes from knowledge and experience rather than physical power. Sam Neill makes the knowledge feel real. When he explains how velociraptors are hunted with the kid, when he takes a little velociraptor claw and says he would cut you here, that part always made me laugh, even as a kid. But it shows, he's very knowledgeable, and it's very intimidating too. He respects dinosaurs. He respects the old age, but he's so into them. He respects them so much that he loves them before he even sees them. The respect becomes more fear once he understands what Hammond has created. We all love the first dinosaur reaction when he's outside and sees a Bronchiosaurus. One of the most important movies of the film. When he sees the animal first, he stops moving, removes his sunglasses. It's all become a meme. Turns her head to Ellie's head towards it. It shows like confusion, like recognition, scientific wonder, and emotional disbelief. You have to think about it. This guy's whole life of studying, digging up these fossils is a reality. What would you do? I don't know. I'm surprised he didn't shit his pants, man. I mean, like, I know that's a saying, but how can you not? It's like your life's work. His entire career, he studied bones, man. He's studying the past. The past of those bones is standing in front of him, living flesh. It'd be crazy. Spielberg holds on Grant and Ellie before, fully revealing the dinosaur, which I think is perfectly done. Like he kind of like teases you And then you see it. Even though the special effect isn't as great, the acting is what sells it. He shows somebody that just really, really saw his life's work come alive. The character development is great as well. He first doesn't like kids, and then we see him later as a protector of the children. He rescues them from the T-Rex. He falls in love with the Triceratops here. He doesn't really bring like a little kid, showing that he's, he might be the science guy, but he's also a little kid at heart with these animals. But it's gradually done. Neill does not suddenly turn Grant into a cheerful father figure. He retains the character's awkwardness throughout the film that makes the connection feel genuine with the kids when he's talking to them in the tree. By the end, when Tim and Lex are sleeping on him, besides him in the helicopter, the tree, he looks, in the helicopter when they're flying, Grant looks at Ellie and quietly accepts that something inside him has changed. Like, he didn't want kids, and now he wants, he's open to the idea. As a hero, it's practical the way he's portrayed. Grant does not defeat dinosaurs with strength. He survives because he watches, listens, and understands animal behavior. He uses his skills from learning, his teachings, his knowledge that he's obtained over the years. When confronted with a T-Rex, we see him knowing that division's based off movement, even though that became bullshit when they found out later. But, through real science in the film, it made a lot of sense. He finds the broken eggs. He realizes that the dinosaurs are reproducing. When facing velociraptors, he understands their intelligence and ability to coordinate. He's heroic because he remains useful under pressure. Let's say that again. He remains useful under pressure. He doesn't run to the bathroom and get eaten. He doesn't do anything that's wild and crazy, out of the ordinary, although he has to adapt to his surroundings with the car. He remains useful under pressure. He even tries to calm down Lex when he says, I'm going to go get Tim out of the truck. But Neill also allows this character to be frightened. He's not fearless. He shows him as a human being. He knows exactly how dangerous the animals are, which means his decision continuing to protect the children carries real weight. He's brave because he understands the danger and acts anyway. The importance of restraint here is that it's louder of a performance than, in my opinion, it's louder in the performance of restraint than it would be with outgoing and pumping up that times 10. I think it actually would have hurt the film. The movie already has, enormous dinosaurs, groundbreaking visual effects at the time. You got John Williams doing the damn score. And you, of course, have Steven Spielberg. It doesn't need a bigger than life character to go along with that. It needs a calm center. And Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant provides that. You have Jeff Goldblum as, the charismatic, unpredictable, philosophical, dorky, weird guy. You have Richard Attenborough as John Hammond's emotional and nihilistic guy. You have Laura Dern as the energetic, compassionate, and direct Ellie Sattler. You need somebody to be grounded, and that's what Grant is. And Neill does it with perfection. He's a person who looks at everything Hammond has built and asks the most basic questions. Should this exist? Like, that seriousness right there keeps the movie from becoming an only theme park attraction. So, why did I choose this number one? I mean, it's kind of obvious. Jurassic Park is number one because Sam Neill gives the movie its humanity. It's his most popular role. Dinosaurs are the attraction in here, but Alan Grant is our guide to those dinosaurs. When we think of the lookup or the getup or the attire here with the hat, the jean jacket shirt, the red bandana around the neck, we're always going to associate that with Alan Grant. We experience, the wonder through his face as we do here. We understand the danger through his knowledge. We feel the emotional stakes through his relationship with the kids. Neill does a great job of keeping that calm center. He never tries to compete with the dinosaurs. Instead, he gives Steven Spielberg the believable human presence needed to make the dinosaurs feel real. And when you're working with CGI, that really needs to work. Alan Grant is intelligent without being arrogant. He's courageous without being invincible, and caring without being sentimental. It's a performance that works for children seeing the movie for the first time and adults returning to it decades later. For many people, the image of Sam Neill in that hat, red bandana, dusty blue suit, like I just said, is inseparable from the feeling of seeing Jurassic Park for the first time. And that's the reason why this is my favorite Sam Neill role. So with that, guys, I know I rambled on a lot. We went from some great stuff with Sam Neill. We talked some Marvel. We talked some TV shows. This is a weird episode for me because I just did it solo. I don't like the way I talk in terms of the way it sounded my voice, so I'm sorry if you have to just hear me ramble. Please give me feedback on this. I want to know how I did. Any pointers I will look forward to. But we went through 5 different characters, 5 different genres, 5 completely different uses of Sam Neill's talent. That range is what made him special. He could walk into a blockbuster and make the impossible believable. He could enter a horror film and make psychological collapse feel painfully real. He could appear in a television drama, create a villain complicated enough to remain memorable long after leaving the series. And despite the darkness of many of his famous roles, the man himself was remembered for warmth, humor, generosity, and an absence of a movie star presentation. We lost Sam Neill on July 13th, 2026, but we did not lose his performances. Alan Grant will continue moving his sunglasses and staring at the first dinosaur. John Trent will continue watching himself on a theater screen. William Weir will continue waiting aboard Event Horizon. Chester Campbell will continue walking into Birmingham, believing that he alone represents law and order. And audiences will continue discovering everything else Sam Neill left behind. Thank you for the fear, the laughter, and adventure, the intelligence, and the unforgivable memories. Rest in peace, Sam.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?